Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Today I am doing a video contest response for Eric over at the Card Closet. Now, most of us within the card community do these types of contests when we reach a certain subscriber milestone level, or some of us just do it for the fun of it. But Eric is celebrating having one of his videos reach 10,000 views. Now, granted, it's not a sports card related video, but still, for some of us who have, smaller channels on YouTube as part of the card community, to have any type of video reach 10,000 views is pretty impressive. So to celebrate that milestone there on that one video, he's running a contest, and to enter that contest he wants us to do a video where we show off and talk about some of the first cards or card in our collection that we first had when we first started collecting. What was that one card or a couple cards that have a story or meaning behind them, and just talk about them. Not necessarily the oldest card in our collection, but the very first one or ones that we ever had when we first started collecting. And so, before I turn the camera around, if you're not familiar with Eric's channel, I will be putting a link to his channel in the description of this video. Definitely go check Eric out and his channel. Great guy, great collection, great content. So definitely do that. And Eric, congratulations on that one video reaching 10,000 views. Very impressive. So, all right, I'm going to turn the camera around, show off a few cards that have a little bit of a story of them and that represent the first cards in my collection. All right, the first cards that I ever had as part of my collection, or when I first started collecting, is from 1978. I was 6 years old, and at the time, I believe I got 50 cents a week for an allowance. And every Sunday after church, my dad would go to this local corner store to get his Sunday paper. This store had candy, sold magazines, sold comic books, and it also had baseball cards. And at the time, I think I had enough in my 50 cents allowance to buy 2 packs of cards. And I don't know, I may have bought some rack packs. I don't know if I can't remember whether they sold any rack packs. Of course, those would have been a little bit more expensive, but I think you may have gotten some more cards. So anyway, I remember picking up, a pack or 2 of these cards a week. Occasionally, when I had a little bit more money, if I did some chores or anything like that, I could afford to buy a few more cards. But as you can see, these aren't in the best of shape. Obviously, when I first started collecting these, you weren't worried about putting them in penny sleeves, top loaders, anything like that. But this year, and the fact that these were the first cards that I ever collected, I just love the 79 top set, the design. And again, it may have to do with my memories of these being the first cards that I ever collected, but I'm working on a really nice, hopefully a really nice, clean, sharp, raw 78 set, which I'm going to be really proud of when I complete that. But I do have another story regarding these 78 Topps cards. Now again, I don't know which ones here were my very, very first ones I got. These are just, over the years, put them in order. But I did have, and some of you may remember this, I'm not going to get it in front of the camera here, but Topps had a little card, they called it like a card locket or a carrier, and that had little slots on the inside, and I think you could divide them by teams or whatever, but it was a way to store and carry your baseball cards. So I remember where I lived at the time, down the street, a friend of mine who was in my same grade in school, his grandparents lived down the street from me. And one summer, he invited me down, and I think at the time his grandparents put out a little kiddie pool for his younger sister to play around in. Well, I brought down my cards. I think he wanted to see them or whatever. And I forget exactly how it happened, but somehow that case of cards fell into the kiddie pool. And I was devastated. I immediately pulled them out as fast as I could, and I think I went running home, and I'm telling my mom, "Mom, my cards fell in the water. My cards fell in the water." And, these were, I want to say, prized possessions of mine, because, again, I didn't, keep them in great condition. But if you notice here, and you'll see some more than others, like right here, you'll see like some of these cards look a little warped. Well, my mom did a heroic effort in taking out all the cards that got wet. I don't think all of them did, but there were enough that they got wet. And she separated them, I think maybe put them in between some paper towels or something, and put some heavy stuff on them and to try to get them dry and not warp or anything like that. Now again, here's a checklist one. As you can see, this one didn't quite make it through as best as possible, but that's just one of those memories that I have of these 78 cards. So these not only were the first cards in my collection, and again, I still have these to this day. These are only just a fraction of the ones that I have. I just pulled out a group here. But some of these also survived getting wet in a kiddie pool. And so, yeah, I love these 1978 tops. Now, I may have told that story before in some other old videos or whatever. I do have one other story that involves a card, not from 1978, but from 1979. I've told the story before on my channel, but I've had recently some new subscribers to my channel, so in case they haven't heard the story, I thought I would include it in this video as well. So it was probably around 1981 or 82, so I was 9 or 10 years old playing Little League, and it was either at a practice or at a game. My mom was in the stands, and I don't know how it came about, but she was talking to some of the other mothers of the kids on my team, and the subject of baseball cards came up. And one of the mothers said to my mom, "Hey, you want to have John take a look at some of these cards because they're error cards, and they may be worth a little bit of money." Now, again, we're talking about 1981, 82 here, so a lot of money to a 9 or 10-year-old is, a couple dollars, considering I can buy packs of cards for like 25, 30 cents, okay? And so she took some notes and wrote down some cards. I think mainly the ones that she was told about were from 1981 Fleer. If you're not familiar with that set, it was the first set that Fleer came out with once the monopoly of Topps ended after 1980. Anyway, they had lots of errors in terms of card numbering. So one card that was supposed to have one number was printed with that number, but sometimes it had a different number, like they switched two cards and the card numbers around and so on. So you got little variations that they ended up correcting during the print run and so on. Now, I don't have one of those 81 Fleers to show off, but another card that this mother told my mom was from 1979. And before I show off the card, this card had an error. It was printed one way, and then they corrected it. And the print run, I believe, for the corrected version is less than the error version, because they discovered it, I guess, late during the print run. Anyway, I went home and searched through my 1979 Topps cards, and sure enough, I had that card. And based on what they said it was worth at the time, I was just overjoyed. I mean, like, I couldn't believe, oh my gosh, I have this card that's worth, a few dollars and stuff. And literally, it wasn't a monetary factor. I wasn't planning on selling it or anything like that, but just the fact that these cards could have some sort of value other than just being fun to look at and collect, really, I guess, started my interest in collecting baseball cards, and it has continued ever since. Now, again, I'm not going to show the card off yet because the other thing that I have saved, believe it or not, is my mom's original note. I don't know how this survived. Again, I used to keep cards in literally a shoebox. And as you can tell, this note here was folded up several times. Okay. And I must have folded it up, kept it in one of the shoe boxes as a reminder of maybe because this was before Beckett. This was, all that stuff. So it was my way of maybe making sure if I ever came across some 81 Flair cards to look for these error cards. But here's the error in question. 1979 Topps. Now, she wrote it down as Bumper Wills, but it was Bump Wills. And if you're not familiar with that card, he played for the Texas Rangers. Well, the error card has him, it says the Blue Jays on the front, but the Rangers corrected information on the back. And at the time, again, we're talking about 1981-82, that was a $3 card. The corrected version with him saying that the Texas Rangers on the front and Texas Rangers on the back, that was the corrected version, and one that was, I guess, harder to find. That one was $7. So imagine my surprise as a 9 or 10-year-old when I have the corrected version. So it does say Rangers on the front. The error has Blue Jays, and it has the Rangers on the back. Now, of course, in today's standards, it's fairly nicely centered on the back. Of course, once I found I had this card, I made sure that really protect this one. I don't know what I put it in, but I made sure to separate these and be very careful with it. So it's in fairly decent condition. It is off center. There's some corner things, and I think there's some print. There's a print smudge down there. I don't know if it's going to show up here. Yeah. So again, in today's terms of grading, heck, this probably is like a 4 or something like that. But anyway, for a little kid, to say that this may be worth $7 at the time was just pretty amazing. And I forgot to pull them out, but as part of my once I started back up a couple years ago building my vintage collection, I've been mainly concentrating on Hall of Famers. But for 1979 Topps, I had to get this card in both the error and corrected versions. And again, I should have pulled this out for the video, but I do have each of the versions in a PSA 9. I wanted to get a really nice copy, again, just because of the story behind this and the fact that this one card here is pretty much responsible for me having an enjoyment of collecting cards. Again, I never went to sell this card. I never traded it for anything. Kept it in my collection since I pulled this from a pack in 1979. So while not my first card in my collection, these 1978 Topps cards were the first ones and have their own little story behind them and meaning to me as part of my collecting. But also there is the 79 Topps Bump Wills, or as my mom called it, Bumper Wills. And so there you go, my video response for Eric, the Card Closet. Eric, again, congratulations on that one video hitting 10,000 views. I can only hope one day that any one of my videos, maybe years and years and years from now, would even approach 10,000 views. So that's all I have for you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.